Hello, everyone, and good evening. My name is Harry Waring, and I have the honor of hosting tonight's virtual event. I want to welcome everyone to EHM's virtual sessions, brought to you in part by Jaguar Land Rover Freeport. And like I said, just a note to our audience, we'll be taking questions for our guests. Please send them in the chat to me during the session, and I'll call on you in just a little bit. We're going to try to fit as many as we can, but make sure your mic is unmuted, too. It'll give you an option. I'm going to unmute you, and then you have to check yes when you're ready to ask your question. And feel free to post, tag at WEHM Radio throughout the night as well on social media. We really appreciate that. Well, tonight's guest, of course, grew up in New Jersey, Pete Yorn, and like myself, is a graduate of Syracuse University. I have to throw this in there because I am curious if we ever crossed paths. He was a senior working as a DJ at Harry's, ironically enough, Harry's Bar on the SU Hill. I was trying not to get lost personally as a freshman, so I don't think we saw each other, but it's kind of cool to know that he's a fellow Syracuse alum. After that, I think it was just a couple of weeks, he moved right out to L.A., and he's built a great career over the past 20-plus years, and last year released his 7th album, Caretakers. So over the past few months, Pete has kept busy with various live streams during the quarantine, releasing new songs like The World, and more importantly, has honed his drawing skills with some great pictures of Barney, yes, the purple dinosaur, on his social media. Personally, I'm partial to Barney 25. Pete, we should talk about that in a bit. Touchdown, Barney. But we all have our favorites, and it's an honor to officially welcome Pete Yorn to our virtual stage tonight. Pete, thanks for doing this.
Hello.
Thank you
How
for
are you?
being here. Thank you. Where are you right now?
I'm in Palm Desert, California, and I just found out, I was telling you this before, that it was the hottest August ever recorded in the Coachella Valley. And so the one summer I spent out here is the hottest summer it ever was. It's going to be 118 this weekend, and that's nothing. It's kind of like
You
we
usually
made it.
spend summers, or at least part of them, in the Hamptons, right?
Yeah, I used to all the time, and I miss it. I miss the Hampton summers. Absolutely.
We got to get you back out here, hopefully sooner than later. I am curious because we briefly mentioned Syracuse. Originally, you were on a track to law school, right? Not music.
Yeah, I was supposed to go to law school, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, but my oldest brother was a lawyer, and it seemed pretty cool, and I loved the movie To Kill a Mockingbird, and I really loved the scenes in court there, and I had this idea of being this like powerful litigator, for justice in the courtroom. And then I was just started writing all these songs, so I figured, well, I could always go to law school. Let me try to do music before I get too old. And I remember thinking like, I gotta get a record deal before I'm 30, something like that, before I get old. And yeah, so I'm still doing music. I haven't applied to law school yet, but it could happen at any time.
I'd imagine that's how you coped with the long winters, basically writing music and getting through that. It almost prepared you for quarantine in a way.
Yeah, writing music and smoking a lot of grass and being a Syracuse kid, it's like it seems like it's just I don't even know how I made it through, but that's why I moved out to California so quick after. It's like as soon as I graduated, I'm like, all right, I'm sick of this cold weather. I'm gonna get out west, and now I'm paying on the other end. It's too hot. It's been too hot.
Yeah, 10 months of winter is a lot. You've kept very busy during this quarantine time, and we have your new song, The World, in the EHM New Music Bid. What was the inspiration for that? When did you wrap it up? When did you write it?
I don't remember exactly when I wrote it, but when I write, I come up with song ideas, and usually I put them into my phone as like a voice memo, and they're just kind of rough sketches. This one happened to be really flushed out. It had pretty much all the words in it, and I remember when the Kobe Bryant tragedy happened. I happened afterwards, maybe a few hours later. I was really upset about that, obviously, and obviously a lot of people were. But I was going through my phone, and that song just randomly popped on, and I was just like, oh, it just really resonated with me, and um, that's what kind of made me want to record it again. It was the Kobe thing, but and then the COVID thing hit, and it's just kind of a reminder of gotta take the good with the bad, all the great things in the world. Like, don't let the bad stuff that we see every day, don't let it steal our wonder, from the world. Don't let it steal all the great stuff that you could still do and see, because it's so easy sometimes when things are hard and constantly bombarded with bad news and stuff to just get really but there's a lot of beauty still, and just a reminder that it's all one. It's all, there's everything at once. So
You shot the video on your iPhone, right?
I shot it. I did the voice memo on my iPhone. I shot the video on my iPhone. Yeah, right in this house here. And the video is just walking down a hallway with, I was feeling super nostalgic and just like time's flying by, and it was just a lot of faded pictures. It's in this hallway that the sun hits really hard, and so a lot of the pictures in this house, it's an old family house I'm in, they're faded. Like literally my parents' wedding picture is like, it's like Back to the Future, like it's like almost gone, and we need to replace that. But it's like my bar mitzvah pictures in there. It's like pictures of my dad and me when I'm a little kid in his dental chair. Just things that kind of at the time, especially since I'm not seeing everybody so much, kind of got me really emotional. So that when the song hit, it just really felt like the song.
You're watching EHM's virtual session with Pete Yorn, sponsored in part by Jaguar Land Rover Freeport. We're going to do a few songs. Would you like to start with a song right now?
Let's start with it. We were just talking about the world, so I might as well get it out of the way. I'll play it. I'm going to play it. It's recorded in the key of G, but I'm going to do it today, I think, in G sharp. All right, here we go. The world. The world. Could you hear me all right, everybody? All right. The world. Hey, Ellen Berman. All right. The world is a beautiful place, even though I don't like it sometimes. Seeing what you get, you don't know what you're expecting. You're running from the things that I know you've been rejecting. The world is a beautiful place, even though I don't like it sometimes. The world is a funny place, even though it makes me sad sometimes. Seeing what you get, you don't know what to expect. You're in the game, so you know that you can't complain. The world is a funny place, even though it makes me sad sometimes. It makes me sad sometimes. Oh, it makes me sad sometimes. It makes me sad sometimes. And my heart goes out to the winners of lottery. You drive home in the sun, you take another piece of me. The world is a crazy place, and I just can't take it sometimes. Ever in a rush, don't know what to expect, and even in the mud you can't get that upset. The world is a funny place, even if it makes me sad sometimes. Oh, it makes me sad sometimes. Sometimes oh, it makes me sad sometimes.
Very nice. You're watching Pete Yorn on EHM's virtual sessions here on Zoom. Everyone's applauding and sending their emojis and everything through. We appreciate that here on Zoom. It sounded great. That's the new song that's in the EHM New Music bin. I want to go back a little bit to, now you said you moved out to LA right after graduating, but when Strange Condition was released on the soundtrack to the movie Me, Myself, and Irene, you were already working on that soundtrack, and you kind of wrote the film's original score. How'd you get involved with that, and what was it like to kind of see everything start to kind of come together for you?
Yeah, that was like 2000, I feel like. I had already finished Music for the Morning After, and we were mixing it, or we were about to start mixing it at the record plant in Hollywood. And I remember I got a call from Peter Farrelly, who directed Me, Myself, and Irene, and he said, he's like, Pete, it's Pete Farrelly. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? We had met a couple times at parties, but I didn't really know him. I knew a buddy of his, this guy Bradley, who was one of his producers, and Bradley was very familiar with my music because he would see me play at Largo, and Pete just asked me, he's like, yeah, we got this new movie with Jim Carrey coming out, and I want you to score it. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, we want you to score it. And they had a history of, they had like Freddie Johnson score, Kingpin, I think, and they had Jonathan Richman score Mary, something about Mary. And so they're kind of into having singer-songwriters score their movies. And I was like, oh my God, well, I got to do this. I was a huge fan, a huge Jim Carrey fan. And I remember just thinking, how am I going to mix my record and do this at the same time? And it's like, well, just do it. Don't even think about it. Just say yes, and you'll figure it out. And so I scored. It's weird because the soundtrack to Me, Myself, and Irene is all except for Strange Condition and maybe Just Another. It's all Steely Dan covers.
Who
And
made that decision? Were you part of that, or was that for part of the I guess?
No, that they already knew they were going to do that, and I was like, "Sweet, that's cool." And I remember Wilco had a great one. They had Any Major Dude. They did was a really nice version of it. But yeah, so we scored it, and I remember I got this funny living room organ, like an old '60s kind of goofy organ with bossa nova beats and little bass foot pedals, and that's what I used to score most of it, and it was cool. And it came out well before my record did, and so Strange Condition was kind of floating around out there. I think had a little bit of visibility
Yeah.
before my record came out, which was nice.
What was it like? How did you hook up with Peter Buck and start working on, I guess, a Strange Condition, but also worked on I guess, some stuff on the first two records?
I only work with guys named Peter early on.
That's
I'm
a good
very
point.
insular in that way. I met Peter Buck on tour when I put out music for the morning after. I remember, I mean, I grew up. I was a huge REM fan, and I'll tell these guys when we were doing a little sound check, I started playing a tiny bit of REM. I was playing Driver 8. I started going. And then when we went off, I heard the feed of the radio station, and they were playing "Don't Go Back to Rockville," and so I was like, "Oh, I was like playing REM, and they were playing REM at the same time," which was kind of funny. But yeah, I toured with REM on when my first record was out. And I remember when I put music for the morning after out, Burtis Downs, their manager, like reached out to us right away, like he and just wanted to just be really supportive. He's like, "I love this record," and I was freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, Burtis Downs, REM, these were my heroes. And yeah, they were really nice on tour, and we became friends, and had a great time. And so it was easy for me to ask Pete. Pete loves playing on stuff, he just loves playing music. So it was easy for me to ask him to come in and lay down some stuff. So he played mandolin on Day I Forgot. He played mandolin on Man in Uniform, and he played guitar on an alternate version of Strange Condition. Yeah.
Very cool. Over the past decade, you've done a couple projects with Scarlett Johansson, Break Up and Apart. And I read recently, now granted, it's not going to happen soon, but is there a third project you're thinking about? Because you kind of make the joke that it's every 10 years, but are you thinking about possibly doing some more down the road?
She made that joke. I wasn't even planning on making the second one, and it just kind of happened. Like we hadn't seen each other in so long, and all of a sudden we found ourselves kind of hanging out again in the same little circle. And I think when we get together and there's time, it's like, well, why don't we make some music?
Yeah.
So, kind of happened. Not really planning to do it, even though I did have some songs that in the back of my head that I really wanted to hear her on. But yeah, she joked. She was like, "We did it 10 years since the first one, so in another 10 years we'll make another one." So who knows?
All right. We don't know. I am curious. I don't know if I should ask this or not, but when I was looking at this, I noticed you and Scarlett did Ellen to promote it, and it's online. It's on YouTube. I was just curious. What was your experience like, if I could ask? I know you're not going to say anything, but there's so much controversy in the news. I was curious what how it went for you.
I gotta be honest, it was horrible. Ellen was like in the dressing room with a bat when I walked in. She hit me in the shins,
This is
cracked
the
my
clip I
shins
was looking
open.
for. Thank you.
and everyone on this show was so mean. It was the worst. I go around all the time saying how mean Ellen and everyone at the show was all the time. It's a
Get out there and perform. No, it was just
the
fun.
truth. The truth is, it's the opposite. I mean, listen, I'm an artist going in there. I am who I am, but every time I've ever been, I've done that show like 4 or 5 times. Every time I leave there, I'm like floating on a cloud. Like everyone's the nicest people here. Everyone's so happy. It's such a great vibe, and also everyone on my crew feels the same way. They're just like, this is just like positive energies. You get out, people are dancing, you're having a good time, you're loosening up, and it just felt like good vibes. It's unfortunate. I don't know what was going on behind the scenes there, but I never saw anything like that. And I always just worshipped Ellen and always had a good feeling when I played that show. So
No, I was curious because when I was preparing for this, I noticed they came up at the performance, or actually, you guys were just on there talking about the first one, and I was like, I wonder. Let's do another track right now. We're listening to Pete Yorn, part of EHM's virtual session, also part by Jaguar Land Rover Freeport. So, which song would you like to do?
I don't know. I'm still capoed on two, so I'll do a song that I do capo too. There's a song from my first record called Closet. Oh, Billy, I want you so. I'm trying to meet you. Too many things they don't know. Too many beatings, and I'm walking around your closet. I want you to say my name again. I'm walking around your closet. I want you to say my name again. So Billy, I lost control. I'm trying to meet you. Too many things they don't know. Too many repeatings, and I'm walking around your closet. I want you to say my name again. I'm walking around your closet. I want you to say my name again. So don't stop, don't stop, don't turn around. So Billy, I lost control. I'm trying to meet you. Too many things they don't know. Too many repeating. And I'm walking around your closet. I want you to say my name again. I'm walking around your closet. I want you to say my name again. I'm walking around your closet. I want you to say my name again. I'm walking around your closet. I want you to say my name again. I want you to say my name again. Oh, Billy, I lost control. I want you to say my name again. Oh, Billy, I lost control. I want you to say my name again. Oh, I want you to say my name again. So don't stop, don't stop, don't turn around.
Pete Yorn on 92.9 and 96.9 EHM's virtual sessions here on Zoom. Thanks to everyone for coming out tonight. So I want to briefly, before we get to some question and answers from the audience, I want to talk about the latest album, Caretakers, which came out after a few years off a little bit. How did you meet Jackson Phillips, Daywave, and were you looking to get back in the studio? Were you kind of looking around for a producer, or how did it all come about?
We met at a birthday party, and it was so cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he he'd been on my radar because he has a band called Daywave, and they're on Harvest Records, or they were on Harvest Records, the first record. And I have a side band called the Ohms that was the first release of Harvest Records. And so I was following their Instagram, and this, you know how it all happens these days. And I would see Daywave on Instagram, and I'd be like, "Who is this Daywave Cat. I kept reading it wrong. I think I was reading like Dave Way or something. I would like read it wrong. But then we were at a birthday party for my friend Ian Montone like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. Nah, it's got to be two. I hope it's two. Gosh, it could be three. No matter. And we met, and it was late in the night. It was a blurry part of the night, and we just started right away. He's like, "Oh, you're Pete." And I'm like, "Hey, you're that Daywave guy." And we just hit it off. You know, one of those things like easy. You know, just right away started talking about music that we liked, and just bonded. And it's his birthday today, actually, too. I know it's Lauren's birthday, and she has the same birthday. Happy birthday, Lauren! He has the same birthday as Jackson Phillips, Mr. Daywave. So two great people, and many more as well. A few more that I know. A little girl was born today. A friend of mine, a little baby girl, was born today as well. So another cool birthday. But yeah, Jackson. The big thing was once we got in the studio together. It was really casual. We didn't know if we were going to do anything. It was like he's like, "Yeah, come out to my house," and it took me like 6 months to finally be like, "All right, I'll go out there." And when we did, as soon as we tried to record something, we
Hit it
just
off.
had a flow together. It was like some people you work with, and it's like, or you don't do something interesting, and right away, just right what we recorded, I thought was interesting. We both were excited about it, and so that was the main thing. We just kept recording stuff that we at least thought was interesting, and then hopefully other people find it interesting.
Did you guys wrote together? I think I read. Did you kind of had an interesting process where you were churning out a lot of music, almost a song a day at times?
Yeah, we would every time we would get in the studio, we had a little routine we settled into where I'd get there at like 11 a.m. I would drive from Santa Monica out to Echo Park where he was. And we just kind of like at first, the first few times I kind of had some songs in my back pocket that I wanted to try, and then after like four songs, we're like, want to just start writing songs together on the spot, and so we started doing that. And every day, like so, we'd work. We started at 11, and I'd lay a track, he'd lay a track, I'd lay a track, he'd lay a track, and we'd be building it up. And then usually around like 2:33, he'd be hungry or I'd be hungry, and we're like, all right, let's go to this place, Lassen's. Like, go get some food. It's this like health food store that makes sandwiches and they have food. So we'd go to Lassen's, and then we'd eat a little bit, and then we'd come back from Lassen's, and a lot of times I'd be thinking like, I don't know if we're gonna finish the song today. Like, it seems pretty loose. And then all of a sudden, after lessons, we would hit this another gear, and we'd work for like another 2, 3 hours. And I always wanted to leave by like 6 because I wanted to be home to give little Ellie be home for her bath because she was little, and be home to read her a story for bed. And so I always wanted to be done by that time, and somehow we by the end we would always have a song done, and we would record it maybe in like I don't know 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 6 hours, 7 hours, and we'd be done, and very little revisions.
Yeah.
After that, like maybe we'd sit with it for a few weeks, and I'd be like, oh, let me just fix a vocal line or add one thing, but overall, we just nail it.
Nice. I know there's one track on there that was inspired by your daughter. And how has it changed you as a musician? Has it been noticeable, or it just kind of happens over time?
Um, I think that it's funny. People were asking me that like right after she was born. I was like, I have no idea. I'm not even playing music, right now in those little early baby stage. But as a person, it gave me. I was talking about this the other day. I think it gives you a different identity. It's like I was Pete, and now I'm B's dad. And like I take pride in that. And
And saw the Barney drawings and everything that's going on your social, which is impressive.
yeah. Yeah, well, the Barneys, well, it's funny. Some people thought they were hers, and I'm like, no, they're mine. They're mine. Sorry. But yeah, it changes the way your day flows for sure. And I think I've always been a compassionate person. I feel like I feel the weight of the world, and I'm a sensitive person and a nostalgic person. But you know, when you see the work that goes into raising a little one, if you're hands on and all that, um, you realize how precious every life is, and how much love has to really get like people are resilient and they make it through, but you realize how much goes into every human being walking around the street, you know? Um, and hopefully most of it's love. You know, obviously there's some unfortunate situations that also it gives you perspective on that just even make it seem even more messed up. But, you know, makes me appreciate people more for sure.
I want to remind everyone that Pete has been performing his albums from start to finish. Two of those performances are actually available on demand if you go to peteyorn.veeps.com. That's peteyorn.veeps.com. You can actually purchase them on demand and watch those. Do you have any more planned coming up, or what are you looking to do?
I haven't announced anything yet, but I'm still kind of recovering from the last one. And I know I definitely see some people on here who watched it. So, yeah, I mean, there's one obvious way to go, but then there's some other ways to go too. We'll see what I'm feeling. But
check those two out. They're on demand right now, so you can purchase those and watch them whenever you'd like. Let's do one more song before we actually get to the audience and their questions. We're going to line them up. If you want them in, it's getting a little messy in the chat. There's a lot going on there, so shoot them over to me as you can, and I will go to you right after Pete does another great song. What would you like to do?
I'm gonna do this song called Janine that I put out a few months ago. I don't know if a month ago. I don't know.
The Singing Nun, or the one that if this is the
inspired by Janine Decker's. I might as well play it because it hasn't gotten much play yet. I haven't been able to play it out yet, so I'm gonna play it. Take me away from this place, I'll never go again. Found a way to replace all the things I've ever been. You won't feel this way in the summer. Look behind the door and let it all in. You can rely on your friends to get you to the end. Yeah, it all comes around, it always starts again. You won't feel this way in the summer. Look behind the door and say goodbye. Don't wish it away. Oh no.
Very nice. Pete Yorn, Janine, that's brand new music. Tell a little bit about the background of that song, because there is a story behind why you chose that one.
Yeah, you know, I didn't know much about her, and I was driving to the studio to see Jackson, and I was listening to Howard Stern, of all shows. I listened to a lot of Howard Stern, and they were talking about songs that you would think were #1 songs, but they were held out of the top spot by kind of obscure songs. And one of the songs they were talking about was Louie Louie by the Kingsmen, was never a #1 song, and it was held out by Dominique the song that was very popular by the singing nun Janine Deckers. And her story is kind of tragic, where she was kind of not paid what she was owed for the music. She donated tons of the money that she did get to um, charities and to her church and all that. And in the end, she was kind of not allowed to, she battled depression, and she was only not really allowed to sing what was in her heart after the success of Dominique. And that that's got to be very restrictive. And then ultimately, let's look her up. Ultimately, it ended in a double suicide. Her and her partner. It didn't work out well, and it's very tragic. And for me, the song was inspired by her. It was just in my head going there and to the studio, and it's really just about, hopefully people feel free to be who they are, and not so like hands tied, can't really be real and be themselves, and that's gotta not feel good. So that's kind of what the song's about.
It's Pete Yorn, part of EHM's virtual sessions. We're going to go to the audience right now. So if I do call on you, make sure you unmute yourself, because you do have to do that before it opens up for you. I want to go to Phil, who has a question about your side bands right now. Let's go to Phil. Are you there, Phil?
Yes. Yes, I am. I was asking Pete if he's going to do anything new with the Ohms at all, because you had mentioned that even during the conversation about the Ohms. So I'd just like to know if there's any plans for future albums, or at least a couple singles from the band. So.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to do more stuff with the Ohms, and right now it's a little tricky with the pandemic and all that, but he lays super low and I lay super low. But I would think for sure, in the future when the timing is right, there will be more from the Ohms, and we actually have more stuff recorded already. Like if we wanted to drop a single tomorrow, we could, but I don't want to rush any Ohms out until we're ready to do it right. But yeah, there's more. There's some cool stuff for sure.
I'm going to go to Brent. Oh, sorry, Phil. You're all good. Brenda G actually has a question for you as well. Brenda, are you there?
Hi, Pete.
Hey, Brenda.
Hi, how are you? I'm from the shoreline of Connecticut. I first started, I heard about you when I lived in Seattle, actually. I listened to a station called KMTT The Mountain. Do you remember that one?
Of course I remember the mountain. I miss the mountain. I need the mountain in Seattle.
It's no longer there.
I'm
But
my
anyway,
I'm dying without the mountain in Seattle.
I know, me too. But I live in Connecticut now. But anyways, I was just wondering, other than Scarlett, and she's awesome, is there anyone else that you would like to collaborate with that you haven't already?
Johnny Marr, the Smiths would be cool. He's one of my favorite guitar players, and I know he's kicking around, releasing some interesting records and doing some cool stuff. Um, he's kind of like for me, like I always loved Peter Buck. We were talking about him as an American guitar player, and his style is so influential. And I feel like Johnny Marr was the, when I was like 12, 13, just learning guitar, like those were the two guitar players I wanted to emulate. And whoever the guitar player in The Cure was at the time, I remember, those three really made me want to play guitar. But yeah, but other than that, though, I'm a loner. I'm a bit of a loner. I really just want to be able to get back together with Jackson and record more music, because, like I said, every time we get in the room, we get a new song. So
is that a plan for Caretakers 2, or is there a lot of stuff already done that you want to kind of finish?
there's a lot of stuff done. I think Janine and The World are probably the first two tracks for Caretakers 2, and I'd like to be able to keep dropping songs like that, and then the whole record. And just such an odd time. Just want to keep feeding people with music. So,
One more question from the audience. I'm going to go to Clara. Clara, make sure you're there for a sec. Clara, are you there? There we are.
Can you Hi, we're wondering if you're excited to get back to live concerts once all the craziness is over.
Yeah, of course I am. I was planning on, you know, touring this summer. I was just getting started with touring Caretakers. I did a little bit in November and December, and then I was home for a few months. But I was hoping to do some summer touring. But yeah, it's okay that it had to be put on hold. It's given me time to kind of uh, get my head together again, and yeah. But of course, it's weird to not know if I'm ever going to be able to like play a live show in the way of the old world ever again. I don't know. We'll see. There's so many unknowns. But the best thing about it is at least seeing people and seeing you guys here is great. And I've been saying this whole time that I'm so happy and grateful that we have technology, because if this happened 10 years ago or whatever, you know, we'd feel even more isolated, I think, So it's cool that we could at least do this.
Final question from Lisa. Lisa, are you there? Last question for Pete tonight.
I'm here. Pete, thank you for doing this. This has been a high point for me, and I know for everybody. My question is about the quarantine. It's so incredibly challenging for everybody, and as an artist, it must be incredibly difficult and also take on a whole different dimension. So I'm really curious, what's been your guilty pleasure during quarantine?
It's a great question, and I like your backdrop there. That's nice. Your
You're
background.
with me all the time, Pete. Super fan.
Awesome. I remember the moment that picture was taken. I remember. My guilty pleasure right now, it's probably a show. And what have I been? But I've been watching the Outback Opal Hunters. These my wife, she makes jewelry and she works with opals a lot, and I'm like, this is like the most niche show, Outback Opal Hunters, where they hunt opals in Australia. And she binged through it really fast, but I have one episode left. There's only 2 seasons. So that has been fun. And I don't know why it's guilty. I don't know, I'm so guilty about it, but it's been a pleasure. And I've been I kind of subscribe to Hulu, so I have some more shows, and I've been rewatching like Nathan for You is this ridiculous show that he only had 4 seasons, but they don't have it anymore. But it's so, going back and watching him again, it's so funny how ridiculous it gets. And as I rediscovered Workaholics, there was a show called Letterkenny that I never heard of. That's a Canadian show that is unbelievably funny, but I watched all 8 seasons already, so I'm done out of that. And there was another show called Pen 15. These 2 girls who are like in their 30s, and they play themselves basically as 8th graders or 7th graders, but it totally works. It's really cute, coming of age show. It's also, I think, on Hulu now. But they're not guilty. They're really just great shows. So
What we need to do to get through this stuff. Lisa, thank you so much for your question. We appreciate it. And thanks to everyone.
The guiltiest pleasure is I eat ice cream every night. So maybe I feel guilty about that. But what else am I going to do? What else am I going to do?
Favorite flavor?
Mint chocolate chip. Really? Just like old school Breyers, mint chocolate chip.
Classic one. Let's do one more song before we wrap up tonight. Pete Yorn, part of EHM's virtual sessions. We can't really thank you enough for doing this tonight. So thank you for everything, and you sound great. And thanks to everyone for coming this evening. One more track here. Pete Yorn live in our virtual studio with 92.9 and 96.9 EHM. My pleasure. I'm gonna do an old favorite that some of you might recognize. But leading in now, I'm going to sing a song for Lauren by request. I know it was like, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lauren. Happy birthday to you. All right. I live unchained, and you share the same last name
Joe, I sent a bottle of whiskey as you chose. You said it made you feel dirty. Yeah, I was waiting over here for life to begin, looking for the new thing. You were the sunshine, hitting my front line. I was alone, you were just around the corner from me. Time alone is good, I spend my day in the city, dirty neighborhood, you know you never confess me. So town away, I couldn't wait to forget you. Killed in half the day, I had the time to regret you. Ah, easy, I was waiting over here for life to begin. Looking for the new thing, and you were the sunshine, hitting my front line. I was alone, you were just around the corner from me. Still on a chain, and you share the same last name. Baby Joe, I sent a bottle of whiskey as you chose. You said it made you feel dirty, waiting over here for life to begin. For the new thing, and you were the sunshine, hitting my front line. I was alone, you were just around the corner from me. Yeah, you were the sunshine, hitting my front line, just around the corner from me. Hitting my front line, just around the corner from me. Just around the corner from me, yeah.
Very nice. Pete, amazing job here tonight for EHM's virtual sessions. We thank you so much. Happy birthday to Lauren Stone. That was awesome. Thanks for doing that. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Barney, I see a Barney up there. Nice, Joe. Nice.
Joe during Barney? Hang on, we got to find Joe. They've done a great, there it is. Hang on. Joe's a big fan. She's the one that turned me on to the Barneys. You could sell them for charity. They're that good, I have to say, and they're fun. I have a question, though. What happened to Barney #1? I could not find him, the missing Barney.
It's somewhere, I think it's in Santa Monica somewhere. Or it might be at my brother's house. I just started doing them because it was like something I can draw randomly. I was drawing with B, and then it became just like, oh, I'll just do another Barney. Oh, I'll do another Barney. Oh, and then now it's just become like a joke, you know, just like keep doing them. Yeah.
I think you should sell them.
Yeah, I know.
An art show and sell the Barneys.
Yeah, I've had some offers, but I don't know.
Like the early Barneys, the late Barneys, like the Beatles. Over time, they've gotten better and better and better. So very nicely done there, and something fun in quarantine too.
Yes, I think they got worse. I don't know. I started off pretty good. I don't know.
No, they're good. They're good.
Thank you.
It's something fun. Thank you so much, Pete. Thank you to everyone for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. I'm sorry if I didn't get to everyone's questions, but we want to do wrap up. Thanks to Pete. Don't forget PeteYorn.veeps.com. That's PeteYorn, You can check that out and get the first 2 on demand. His albums that I believe a lot of storytelling with it too. If I'm not, I think that's a lot of fun. So check that out on demand. You can purchase those. He just did those, and stay tuned to his social for everything moving forward. We really appreciate it. Thank you for being a part of EHM's virtual sessions, brought to you in part by Jaguar Land Rover Freeport. Thanks for coming. Get home safe. Keep an eye out for details on our next EHM virtual sessions. Actually, we have 2 coming up. In 2 weeks, Wednesday, September 16th, The Ghost of Paul Revere, very cool band from Maine. And on September 23rd, Mondo Cosmo will join us. So lots to look forward to in September. This was terrific. Pete, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I'm going to unmute everyone so they could give you some applause. And thanks for doing this. We so appreciate it. Have a great night and good luck with everything.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks, everybody.